Hello, Brigadiers and Brigadettes and hockey fans alike. This is your captain speaking. Welcome to my channel. Now let's jump into some hockey content. Hello everybody, happy Tuesday. As you can see, we're back in our normal set. Unfortunately, that's not going to be for long term, I guess. I'm going to have to do just Thursday's video at a family member's house because I worked a few games. The place that I work for covered the expenses for my apartment, but they're not going to cover any more since there's not going to be any games for that time. Anyway, with that being said, hello. If you're new, please subscribe, like this video, everybody. Thank you to all the people that subscribed, and thank you everybody for such a great video, show out. I had the most views, and I think it's on pace for 300 as of right now. But anyway, that being said, we're going back to our series with the 3 questions for a team. We're going to do the Colorado Avalanche today, and the first question is a pretty simple one. Are the Avalanche true contenders? To me, not only are they true contenders, I think they're favorites, and I normally am pretty hard on teams and say they're a dark horse instead of a contender, but I do think that the Avalanche should be a contender. I think that in the NHL, there's 3 teams that come to mind for me that are favorites. That is the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Colorado Avalanche. I think those 3 teams are the 3 favorites to me that could win a Stanley Cup. And oddly enough, if I had to say one that's kind of a dark horse, but I could see them being a contender, would be the Philadelphia Flyers. They have a lot of depth, and I do believe in Carter Hart. I've believed in Carter Hart for basically since he was in the AHL. I don't know why. I've always just had a big boost of confidence for Carter Hart. Now, I'm not going to say that means these 3 teams are the only teams that are going to win a cup. That'd be ridiculous. But I do think that the West runs through Vegas and Colorado. I'm hoping to see a major rivalry here because these are 2 teams that I think should be the best teams in the West for at least probably 2 years. I'm not going to say 3 years out because a lot of things can happen in that time. And I think the additions of Saad and Taze are going to be major boosts for this team. I'm extremely excited to see how Saad does in Colorado. Saad was a Blue Jacket for 2 seasons, if you guys remember, so I kept up with him a lot. He was a part of that major turnaround in Columbus where we had that crazy good season, and he provides scoring depth. He's got 5 20-plus goal seasons under his belt, and he's slated on the second line with Kadri and Burakovsky. So I think another 20-goal season is in the wing, in the mix. One thing I will say, I'm going to get crazy and say he's on for a career high in points with 55. I'll say he at least gets 55. That is based on the fact whether or not there are 82 games, which I don't believe there will be, and if he's put on the second line, which currently, according to Daily Faceoff, he's slated on the second line. Then you have Devon Taze, and he was a good pickup as well for the Avalanche. He's 26, he's only played 2 seasons, but they've been good seasons. Don't overlook him. He can provide some offense, play well on 5-on-5, and he can provide some of that offense on the power play. These 2 moves could be enough to push Colorado over the edge enough to win the Cup. And if they didn't, I think that Vegas would absolutely have the edge since they got Pietrangelo. I'm not going to say who has the edge now, but I do think that could be a major difference between whether or not Colorado wins the Cup or loses to potentially, let's say, Vegas in the conference finals. Now we have the second question, and that is, what can we expect from Cale Makar in year 2? Cale had an outstanding rookie year. He won the Calder last year, and I think he's already one of the best young defensemen in the game. Last season he was dominant. He won the Calder Trophy over my second favorite team. They won it over Quinn Hughes, who plays for the Vancouver Canucks. It was a close vote. Makar had like 1,500 votes, and Quinn had about 1,300. I was sad to see him win it, but I understood it. Makar is a young defenseman that provides some defense as well as offense, and it's impressive considering he's only 22, and this is really his first real year in the league since he did play in the playoffs back then. But I think the difference was Makar can play defense, and not a knock on Hughes. Hughes is a very good player, but he is just an offensive defenseman. With that being said, let's take a look at Cale's stats from last year. The 2019 season, 12 goals, 38 assists, 50 points in 57 games played, 0.88 points per game. He tallied 19 of those points on the power play, and he was 4th on the team for average time on ice at 21 minutes in a second. So he was on the ice over a third of the game. Very impressive for him to be able to play that many minutes. And, I think it's impressive that he was able to be trusted to be out there that long. One thing I want to point out is Makar has a huge impact on the team, but he's done it without doing the things that you would think of that are huge factors for defensemen. He doesn't block a lot of shots. He doesn't lay a lot of hits. He was actually 7th on the team for blocked shots at 47 and 12th on the team for hits. So he's not a guy that's going to lay a bunch of hits, block a bunch of shots. He could develop into that, but I don't think he will. But I don't think Cale needs to play a physical game. He's too important to the team offensively, and honestly defensively, he's providing some good defensive aspects. I know that he chips in a lot on the offensive side, and so that hurts his defensive numbers, but I do think he's not a bad defensive player. I expect his defensive game to get even better than this for the upcoming season, and I think within a few years, he'll be a contender for the Norris. I do think that. I know everybody says this person's going to be a contender for the Norris, this person. I do think that Makar will be one of the favorites to win a Norris. And for this season, I'm going to get bold, and I'm going to say he averages over a point per game. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I just think Makar is going to have a really good year, and I think that he should average over a point per game with this team. So we'll see it happen. You know, Carlson averaged over a point per game last year as a defenseman. I think Makar could too. He's that good. Now, with the third and final question, which goalie is going to take over a net? You have Philip Grubauer and you have Pavel Francouz or Francouz. I'm not sure which one it is. I forgot. I looked it up before this. I always forget his name. And they both played well, but is there a goalie number one? To me, it's a very confusing issue as both have played well and are cheap, but Grubauer is an unrestricted free agent, UFA, which means obviously he's able to sign with any team at the end of this upcoming season. And then Francouz will have to play 1 year on his deal after this upcoming season. I know that tandems can work. We actually ended up seeing Scott Darling save the day for the Blackhawks back in 2015 when Corey Crawford had that terrible series against Nashville. And, Corey ended up tearing it up against the Wild the next round. But it just worries me because I could see Colorado getting in a spot where they lose Grubauer, who's younger, and then they could have issues in net. And I think they should probably see where they go from here, but if it goes well, re-sign Grubauer on a 3-year deal, so that way they can kick the can down the road a bit, and then we can see how Francouz is playing and decide what's the best decision going forward. Another concern I have is whether or not these goalies will be good enough to win this team a cup. I think Joe Sakic has done a wonderful job building this team up over the past few seasons, but the downfall of this team could be the fact that they don't have a true number one goalie in my eyes. I think that's the same for a lot of people. Sorry, I've got an eyelash on my nose or something. They don't have a true number one goalie, and that could be tragic because championship windows are never open as long as people think they are. To me, they're open usually about 2 or 3 years less than what people actually think. Ideally, Sakic would be able to wait this year and see how the two perform and decide for the team what's best in net for the future. So we'll see what that happens. We'll see how this goes. Again, these are my 3 questions for the Colorado Avalanche. Let me know what you think about this team heading into the 2021 season. And everybody, have a great week. I will see you Thursday. Stay safe from COVID. And, just have a great week. Goodbye, Brigadiers and Brigadettes, and hockey fans in general. This is your captain signing off. Have a great week.